So, welcome everyone. It's really good to be here with you, and I'm excited about the second book club. We're starting slow, but I want to cover a number of things today. But primarily, we're looking at things from chapter one of the book. And chapter one, as I'm sure you know, is about the mother wound. So, but I think before we get into the mother wound, we're going to do some work around that today. I just want to talk a little bit about trauma because it's probably the most avoided, ignored, belittled, denied, misunderstood, and untreated cause of human suffering. Uh, and so one of the teachers I had said, if you think you know what trauma is, you are probably mistaken. So I want to go over some of my thoughts of trauma and some of the things I've learned from my teachers, especially Thomas Hübl, who really frames trauma in a different way, not as a brokenness or a pathology or a disease, but actually as an intelligence, as an amazing intelligence that's been evolving for hundreds of thousands of years. And it's been evolving to protect us. So, how the nervous system works is that in an overwhelming situation, when something's too much, either as a very young baby or a child, even in utero, when there's too much commotion or alcohol in the system or smoke, all of that is where we shut down and fragment a part of our essence, a part of ourselves, particularly related to our body. And so it shows up in our body as tension or as numbness in the body. And I think it's really important to see this lens that trauma is not a mistake, it's an intelligence. And that changes and shifts our whole way of looking at it when we really get that that's what's happening. It's an intelligence. And what, we think about trauma, well, first of all, every single issue, what I've discovered, every single issue on this planet, whether it's climate change, racism, war, you name enslavement, every issue at the heart of it is trauma. There's individual trauma, there's familial trauma, there's collective trauma, there's ancestral, historic, geographic, immigration. Those are all trauma events from the personal to the collective. And what trauma, what happens in a traumatic situation is that, like I said, in an overwhelming situation, the body fragments and disperses the energy and pushes it down. So it becomes numbness and tension. It's a simple way to look at it. Those two, it's either hyper or hyporegulated. And what happens is that part of your essence gets stuck in the body. And so it's like your refrigerator, it's always plugged in and it's always running. And so it's not really tension or numbness, it's tensing and numbing in the body. So it's like the refrigerator, it's plugged in and it takes a lot of chi dollars to keep it going. It's because it's running all the time, mostly in the background, mostly we don't even know about it. And so one other thing that's important to know about trauma is it isn't the event or events that happened. It's what happens in you in the face of those events. And that's a really important distinction because if it was just because of the event, well, you'd be stuck with it. But it's actually the protection or the response to the events or event that happened. And that means that we have the capacity to integrate. To integrate, and you'll hear me talking about this a lot through the weeks, but to integrate means that I've been able to slow down enough and soften enough to feel that tension and numbness in my body from those experiences. Your body is like the Library of Congress. It's got everything that ever happened in your life and your ancestors' life is in your body. So what we need to do to integrate is soften, slow down, and pay attention to the body. You cannot heal trauma with cognitive therapy. It just doesn't work. You can do a lot of things with cognitive therapy, but not integrate trauma. So what integration means is not that I'm going to get over it or I'm going to get rid of, if this is the trauma, I'm not going to get over it. I'm not going to get rid of it. What I'm going to do is allow myself to feel it. And as I feel it, just by feeling those experiences, it begins to integrate. It begins to become part of my history. I often say that trauma or integration, integrated trauma is presence. It's no longer being stuck in the past. You could think of trauma as after time. You know, when you have an argument with somebody and then it's still going on that evening, and then the next morning it's still going on. How could she say that? How could he do that? You know, I can't believe he did that. And then a week later, you're still fuming and angry, and maybe you suppress it a little bit, but 20 years later, you're still having the same upset and argument. That's after time. And that's what trauma does. It keeps you in after time. And so when we begin to learn to create more inner spaciousness, then trauma begins integrated. And integrated trauma is presence. Unintegrated trauma is destiny. You're bound to live the same thing over and over and over again until we allow ourselves to feel the trauma. And we don't have to do that all at once. It's very important not to re-traumatize ourselves. There's a thing in trauma work called titration. So we do it a little bit. We soften, we slow down, we feel it, and that's enough. And then we do a little more and a little more. And that leads us to more wholeness. It creates inner space, and that inner space is how we create. It's the home of creativity, innovation, insight. So inner space, and I'm going to do a meditation with you in a moment, but inner space is what allows trauma to integrate, to let go of, to stop using your chi dollars to keep the electricity bill up. So that's just a rough, quick understanding of trauma. Another thing about trauma is when you look at my book, it's called Trauma, a Love Story. How is it a love story? Because I'm returning to wholeness, my natural ability to feel and connect with each other. I'll talk maybe next week about the symptoms of trauma and get into that more. But one of the main symptoms is a sense of separate self. I'm separate from you, you're separate from me. And we're going to work as we go to look at how to dissolve that sense of separation and work with the other issues. So healing is integration, is allowing ourselves to feel the things that we feel. And much of our trauma, we talked last week about attachment styles. Much of our trauma is from early attachment, the lack of feeling felt, seen, heard, held, protected, soothed by a caring parent or a caregiver. And why that's so important, not just, so you are healthy and have a full life, but without co-regulation. Co-regulation means I have a parent or a caregiver that looks at me lovingly, that I know I'm protected, that I'm felt, I'm touched, I'm held, I'm seen, I'm protected. If we didn't have that co-regulation, then we can't learn to self-regulate. Because we learn to regulate. What do I mean self-regulation? The ability to manage our thoughts, our emotions, our behaviors, just in general, instead of being triggered all the time or protecting all the time or upset all the time. So co-regulation is what we do in these circles that I create. It's what I do in the live circles. It's what I'm doing here as we build this. We'll be working with learning how to self-regulate by learning how to co-regulate with each other. So that's the work part that we'll be doing. And as I said, each week we'll deepen some aspect of that. And this week we're going to work with the mother wound. So I want to start out with a meditation. And I do a particular kind of meditation, which is really, we call it 3-sync meditation. It's synchronizing my physical, my emotional, and my mental state. Because you often meet somebody and they're saying one thing and their face is saying another thing and they're feeling something completely different. My teacher, Gabrielle Roth, used to call it trizophrenic, not schizophrenic, but trizophrenic, because my head's doing one thing, my heart is doing another, and my body's doing another. So the kind of meditation I'm doing is to bring us back into our body, out of our heads, and to ground. And in this one, I'll probably bring in something about the mother. I never know quite where spirit is going to take me in the meditation, but here we go. So if you just take a moment to get a straight back and feel your feet on the floor, and maybe you want to close your eyes or soft gaze, and just allow yourself to relax. Notice how you're being breathed. And sometimes it helps to just extend the out breath a little bit longer than the in breath to better feel and experience your inner world. So we start by kind of taking a screenshot of our interiority, just what's happening in my body right now. So I might feel some tension. Particularly chronic tension is really important. It's a telltale sign of trauma. And I might feel some numbness. And of course, it's hard to feel numbness because it's not feeling, but you can tell where there are areas where there's no felt sense. And maybe, like me, and when I started this kind of work, maybe you don't feel any emotions, and that's okay. That's what there is to feel, is I don't feel anything, and that's important. I'll get into that later. But just noticing what's happening in your body. It's a kind of mindfulness where you zoom into the interior, kind of like looking through a telescope or a microscope, and raising the awareness of your in-seeing, your inner seeing. So we just kind of take a screenshot of that interior. Notice any sensations, any movement. And just allow ourselves to deepen our settling into the body. Yeah. And then begin to notice any emotions that are arising. So it could be love, joy, compassion. It could be fear, anger, sadness, joy, shame, or numbness. So really going through the whole body, noticing how your feet are grounded or whether you may be floating a little bit. Feeling into the muscles of your body, the tendons, the organs. And just raising our inner awareness along with our emotional awareness. And emotion is movement, emotion. So we just allow ourselves to feel into that. And then also noticing the state of mind. What's my state of mind? Is my mind busy and grasping and thinking and trying to remember and making to-do lists, or is it all silent and open? Maybe you can tap into that eternal stillness that's always there, even when we're not, which is a good part of the time. So this is the inner lens of our awareness, our in-seeing. Then there's also our out-seeing, What does it feel like around you in your room? The walls, the ceiling. Is it neat? Is it chaotic? Do you love it? Do you not? Can you feel the presence of other people in the house or animals? How safe do you feel when you go out? How safe do you feel with us on Zoom? This work is non-local. I've learned through doing a lot of work online that I can feel people over Zoom as well, pretty much as in a room together. How do you feel with the other people here? So a large part of this work is discovering how to be in and out at the same time. You might notice that often when you're with someone, you either leave your body awareness or you focus on that and disconnect from the other person. So we're just raising the level of awareness of our inner and outer seeing. Yeah, good. Now let's come back into the interior. Notice how we can shift our awareness. And what is aware? We can move our awareness like that, from in to out, out to in. And I want to take a little moment here to reflect on your relationship with your mother. Whether she's alive or passed on, doesn't matter. Just to begin our work in this softened place. Perhaps you can imagine her just standing in front of you. And notice as you do that and bring an image in of her, what feelings do you have? What emotions come up? Do you feel tension? Do you feel relaxed? Just get a sense of how close you feel, how distant do you feel? Just bringing her into your awareness. And if you were adopted, your adopted mother also. And focusing on the mother wound this week. So just allowing ourselves to feel the joy and the sorrow and the grief and whatever's there. And we'll be doing some work around this. And allowing that to just let go, and let's take a few deep breaths together. Long out breath. You could even make a sigh. One more. And as you're ready, softly open your eyes. Come back into the room. Good, thank you. So one of the key things in doing trauma work is always looking to soften and slow down. The more trauma we have, the more we go fast because we don't want to feel. But I'll tell you a secret. You can never outrun fear. It's faster than you are. So better to just slow down and allow yourself to feel it. So I mentioned having a journal. If you have a journal or a piece of paper, you want to pull that out so we can take a look. And I'm still recording. When we do some work together, then I'll shut the camera off. But for now, I want to give this to people who might be joining and want to do the exercise. So we're just going to do a little writing for, you know, 5 or 10 minutes here. And I want you to start by just describing in the raw, clear, emergent, whatever comes up, describe your mother. What was she like? What did she like? What did she dislike? I'll just say a bunch of things, so you don't have to follow each prompt. I'm just going to give you some prompts. Things she liked, didn't like. How did she get along with your father? And what are the traits that you most like about her or liked about her? And what were the things you most disliked about her? What do you think her philosophy of raising children was? And if you had siblings, how did you feel in your place with the siblings? Were you treated better, worse, the same? How did she treat you in relationship to other children if you had siblings? I know I'm going quickly, just write at your own speed, whatever comes up. Maybe some memories will come up. Just mark them and notice. How were you disciplined? Was it kind and caring, harsh and rough? Were you not disciplined, maybe? Just kind of let to be free radicals? How would you describe her relationship with your father? How was her relationship with her mother? If you knew your grandmother, what was the relationship like between your mother and your grandmother? And if you knew your great grandmother, you can add that. Did you feel, felt, seen, soothed, loved, protected, held by her. Maybe sometimes yes, sometimes no, just maybe not at all. Maybe it was a secure attachment that even when there was a challenge, it was repaired. What kind of conflicts did you have in your family, and how did your mother meet them? Yes, poor soul.
Can you repeat the last question, please?
Let's see. Uh, if there was conflict in your family, how did your mother meet that conflict? Did she pull away? Did she engage? Did she start it? Did she, yeah. How did she deal with conflict?
Thank you.
And then I think the last one, and then we'll get into doing some process work. When you look at the answers to these questions, how do you think your relationship with your mother shaped you? How are you like your mother? How are you not like your mother? Have you ever said, I'll never be like that? um, yeah, just notice the ways you're similar and the ways you're different. And one thing is, how did you adapt to her caregiving or lack of it? We always have an adaptation. We'll talk a lot more about adaptation later, but we adapt in our family system. Okay, before we get into that, are there any questions about the questions? Anything you wanted me to repeat or anything that wasn't clear? No? Okay. All right, so I'm going to turn the camera off so we can do some work. I hope people that listen to this will do the work and join us on the next call. So thank you for joining us.